Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Pre-Heresy and Codices, where I look at one Space Marine Legion per ramble, giving you my thoughts on what codex or codices would best represent that legion in a 40k GW rules only armyless build. And then I talk a little bit about collecting that force. So up on the chopping block this time is the Salamanders Legion. And right off the bat, we can see there really isn't a color change pre to post heresy. Yeah, you may notice that sometimes they don't have the black shoulder pad insets, and sometimes they don't have the black backpack. But you'll also notice that post heresy. So that's why ultimately I say it's a wash, and there is no real color change pre to post heresy. So it's basically the same. You see a bit more of a fire motif going on because I think Forge World wanted to show off a little bit. That's not something unique to the pre-heresy time period. Fire is a big part of their iconography anyway, so if you're good at freehanding some stuff, you can freehand scales or fire and get on with it, be it a post or pre-heresy collection. So no real color change pre to post heresy. However, during the Unification Wars and up until they basically became the Salamanders Legion proper, when they linked up with their Primarch, they did have a different look. This Legion had a darker green color going on, and their left shoulder pad inset was colored yellow, and it had a ram's head in it. So a completely different look. If you want to go Unification era, that's how you would paint up this Legion. So with that being said, let's look at a codex to best represent these guys, and there's really only one codex to look at, and that is the generic Space Marines codex. It's the one for them. It's got their chapter tactics in there, it's got a special character we can still make use of to further enhance this chapter tactic stuff, and it's just an all-around good codex for any legion really, but because it has Salamander stuff in here, it works even better for them. So restriction wise, no Land Raider Crusader, no Centurion squads, no fires really, and I'd stay away from Count-Size Legion of the Damned. Now Land Raider Redeemer, on a pure technical level, I would say don't use it as well because it's a post-heresy creation by the Fire Lords chapter. However, it screams Salamanders, so I'm sure there are people who want to make use of it. However, we clearly can't make use of it as a mass-produced Land Raider because then what happened? Why did we not have it for a long time? You know, all that good jazz and whatnot. But what you can say is you can make a one-off. You can get that pre-heresy looking Land Raider kit from Forge World, make it up, convert it to be a Redeemer, and then put extensive Salamanders iconography and conversion stuff onto it to make it look like the Land Raider is the Primarch's personal ride and personal creation, kind of a one-off thing. In that regard, I'd say you could field one of them, but really you shouldn't be fielding them at all, but I could see the appeal for it for a Salamanders player. So that's my thought on the Redeemer. The rest of the codex, like I said in other Legion rambles, are basically open for business. The Salamanders chapter tactic is the way to go, and the special character Vulkan Heston is still usable as a special character entry. You know, it would be a counts as. It's usable because while we're not actually a Forge Father looking for relics of the Primarch, what we do have going on here is essentially a leader type in the Legion that has a bunch of really cool gear. Remember, the Primarch is alive, is creating stuff for his Legion and everything, so this could be one of those high-ranking officers who have a lot of relics already. You know, a lot of nice artifice equipment. No big deal there. So that's basically my thoughts for the codex in question. No need to look elsewhere. Now, when it comes to collecting a Salamander's force, we have to of course keep in mind the pre-heresy time periods, so no Mark 7 power armor and Tartaros and Cataphractii Terminator armor only. With that being said, we can actually look at GW for two things. The first thing would be Vulkan Heston's model. Now, the head is a Mark 7 helmet. Some people may say, it's artificed, it's okay, and just build it as is, but I'm pretty confident in saying that the head is separate from the body for that model. In which case you can put a more pre-heresy looking helmet on him, or make it bareheaded, and you'll be just fine. So that model is very usable. because it looks great, so why not? The second thing we can look at GW for is their Space Marines Thunderhammer little blister. It's for power armor. It's 5 Thunderhammers to make use for power armored Marines. It also comes with some shoulder pads and some storm shields, which aren't really usable for us because of the Crux Terminatus, but I still think it's a neat thing to look at if you plan to go Thunderhammer crazy, because you get 5 of them in that blister. And as a power armored bit, it's kind of a pain to find those things a bit anyway from kits, so that is something else to consider. But other than that, you have, of course, the random, not so much random, but a couple of bits here and there from different kits that are usable in the Pre-Heresy time period from GW, but really it's the Forge World show. It's always gonna be. All the generic Legion Astarte stuff is usable for any Legion, so it works here as well, and they look great. But the Salamanders are in a Forge World book, and they do essentially have their entire model range. So we're gonna look at that as really stuff to be buying. So the Salamander Squad upgrade set includes the head upgrade, the torso upgrade, and some shoulder pads, and they look great, very Salamanders looking. You can take one of these helmets and put it on the Vulkan Heston model, and you got a cool looking model still, very much Salamanders-y. And you can take this squad upgrade and do it kind of as intended, which is use them all on just one squad, or you can spread the love and have a lot of your models have some type of sculpted Salamander detail. Now we also have Land Raider and Rhino doors, which are alright, you know, to have. Always cool. And then we have a Salamander's Dreadnought and a Salamander's Legion Contemptor Dreadnought, both of which look great for the Pre-Heresy time period, and it's up to you. Do you want the Contemptor look or the regular Dreadnought look? It also is something to consider. Do you plan to ever run or build an army list utilizing Forge World's Horus Heresy rules and essentially make a Warhammer 30k Salamanders list? If you do you plan to run a Contemptor or a regular Dreadnought there? If your answer is Contemptor, you might as well pick up the Contemptor Dreadnought and then just utilize it as a regular Dreadnought in your 40k GW rules only army list build. No real harm or foul there. Do that, run it as a regular Dreadnought there, you got it all painted up, ready to go. When you build your 30k army list, you got a Contemptor ready to use. So that's something to think about. Now, we have some squads, and the first one I'm going to look at here is the Salamanders Legion Pyroclasts. These guys look cool. I like the scope, the detail. They all got flame projectors, but there's the problem. They all have flame projectors, and there's no real way to represent that with the generic Space Marine Codex. So you have two options if you want to buy this kit. One option is you can make use of one, maybe two guys. If you plan to run Stern Guard with heavy flamers in there, one heavy flamer per squad, and you run 2 Stern Guard squads, you can make use of 2 Pyroclast models to represent the heavy flamers. The other option would be to make them count as basically having regular flamers, and in which case they have a bit more versatility. You can use them in more squads. So you're going to have a hard time making use of all 5 of them. But if you really like them, look-wise, you want to include them, those are some ways you can make use of them, you know, in different squads. The other thing we have are Salamanders Legion Fire Drakes. Now these guys look phenomenal. They're Terminators, essentially equipped with Thunderhammer Storm Shields. They'll look great, sculpted with Salamander detail, and even if you just play post-Heresy Salamanders, you should pick them up. They look that good. The Fire Drakes are still what they call their first company anyways, so pick them up. I really think they look really nice. They did a good job getting the detail down on these guys. They feel very Salamandery. They're equipped very nicely. Thunderhammer Storm Shield essentially, so nothing you have to worry about. You can feel them as is, no problem. So they're a nice kit to get at if you're a Salamanders player. And lastly, that's usable for us because they do have the Primarch model for Vulkan, which looks great, but not usable in a 40k army list build. But the last thing that is usable is etched brass Salamander symbols. Now these things are cool. They're nice to have because you can put some detail on Marine power armor or Terminator armor depending upon how clever you are with etched brassing, or etched brass I should say. But they're really good for vehicles. So yes, while we have some Land Raider and Rhino doors, maybe you don't want to use those. You know, the edge brass stuff goes longer distance. It can be used on more things, so you can have your vehicles really have that Salamanders feel to them. And that's basically it for the Salamanders range of product. They're all cool looking, very well done, worth picking up whether you're a pre or a post-Heresy Salamanders player. But that's really it for this Legion. It is a Forge World show when it comes to bits that are usable for the pre-Heresy time period. But the Salamanders do have their entire model range essentially out there for you, so always worth checking that out. Anyways, that's basically it for this ramble. So the next Legion up on the chopping block is going to be the Raven Guard Legion, so stay tuned for that one. And until next time, take it easy.